just
Okay.
before that, so
Good
it must
evening.
be in the
Yeah,
middle.
yeah.
Milford Finance Committee, September 9th, 2015, and it's first meeting of the new fiscal year, first full meeting. All right, so the agenda, minutes from June 10th.
Move. Second.
Any
Mr.
discussion?
Chairman, just one item I'd like to reiterate, and is the first one concerning the 429 meeting. If you have copies of your minutes in front of you, it talks about an open issue concerning the imbalance that you brought up back on 429. We're looking for a reply from the school committee with respect to school choice. Have you received, or has this committee received that written feedback that we requested? And if not, could we please keep it in the minutes?
Just refresh my memory, Bobby, what we were looking for. I did get a report from the town finance director on the school choice and school choice out numbers. But what you're looking for, I
No, you
believe-
had mentioned when you reviewed the budget that you had asked them for some rationale or
Right,
some
and we did not receive that
in-depth
yet.
analysis.
We did not receive that.
And I remember Aldo made the recommendation that it be in writing.
Okay, we
So
will,
if it has not been provided, could we
Not yet.
keep it as an active item on the minutes?
absolutely.
And again, Diana, it's concerning the imbalance of school choice. Thank you,
I have a meeting coming up with them next month, I believe, so
thank you.
I'll bring it up again. I believe we also talked about what are they gonna do about it. There's two and a half times more
That could
people
be, I
choicing out.
don't remember that, but it's very possible.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Minutes of executive committee meeting, August 13th.
Move to accept.
Say again?
Move to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? It was basic, you could all read it in the minutes, it was pretty good discussion, had back and forth about a number of different, items, and, there was no votes taken. This is just informational meeting. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Okay, next item is subcommittee assignments. Executive committee at that meeting came up with the subcommittee assignments for this fiscal year, which I sent out to everybody. I've heard nothing back, rather either positive or negative on the assignment, so I assume everything is just fine. As in the past, and we've been doing a really, really good job of this, and we need to continue, I would like to see the subcommittees meet on a regular basis with their departments and be kept informed of what's going on. I mean, that's really, really important as we continue to go forward. We have some major issues, major spending going on, and we need to be kept informed of what's happening, and you guys are the source, because I'm not doing it as much anymore, so I'm depending on you guys to do it. And it's important that we continue to do that. Are there any issues with any of the subcommittees that nobody brought up that they would like to discuss now? Everybody all set? With all the committees?
Mr. Chairman, will that be going out to department heads, just so?
I'm sure it already has.
All right. I didn't
Mr.
know.
Valani has a copy, and
All right.
I would assume so.
Okay, thanks.
Probably not correct, but we'll make that assumption. I'm sure it did. All right. First item I have on the agenda, and what I did, since the warrant doesn't close until September 24th, and right now it looks pretty bleak, and the capital subcommittee knows what should be on the warrant from a capital point of view. We have nothing to discuss from a warrant perspective. I would like to, at the end of this meeting, is set up meetings for after September 24th to go over the warrant before the October 26th meeting, okay? Which will give us about a month to get our report together, which will give us about 2 weeks to validate all the articles that are on the warrant, most of which we should know about. And even at that point in time, we could decide who we want to bring in, if anybody. If they've already appeared before the capital subcommittee and they've been vetted there, I don't think this, in my opinion, it would be necessary to bring them in here, but I'll leave that up to the capital subcommittee to make that decision. So that's the plan at the moment. So with lack of anything else to do, we have 4 major financial projects going on in this town to the tune of over $75 million. And I thought it would be a good thing to do to bring everybody up to speed on all of these projects at the beginning of the fiscal year, our fiscal year. So Milford Pond's first up. I know Dean can't make it, but Mr. Valani said that he would give us a report on what's going on with the pond. We allocated, or I think it was over $5 million for the pond.
Thank you, good evening. Dino Rigrazzi, unable to attend tonight, so I have a progress report for you. The project began in February, as you know. It's been progressing throughout the summer. Approximately 50% of the dredging per volume was completed as of the July report from Palmer Federal. They're the dredging contractor. They did encounter some shallow bedrock in some areas that were designated for dredging to about a 12-foot depth. They dredged as deep as possible, achieving about 6 to 8 feet. The contract is based on volume, not area, so the Army Corps is looking to expand the dredging area to make up the volume of the material lost in the shallow bedrock area. No increase in cost for the project. They were slightly behind in schedule. In July, they brought in a second dredge. September, this month, they'll begin working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. They want to try to complete the project before winter, so they don't have to shut it down, remobilize, and start again. They expect, barring anything unforeseen, that will happen. Once the contract was awarded, some adjustments were made by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in the total project cost to include an alternate, which allows for more of the pond to be dredged. The town share did increase from $1,785,000 to $2,065,000. That state funding we received of $250,000 will be applied to those additional costs. There's been no change to the town's financial commitment since the award of the contract. As of the second quarter financial, the town has provided $1,855,000 in cash contributions towards the construction. The town has provided $50,924 in consultant or in-kind services. So again, basically it should be completed on time and should be completed within the appropriation. That's basically what I have, or what Dino has, and through town engineer on this project.
I'm not sure I heard it right. What I think you said was we committed to $1,006,000 and change, and there was some changes made, and it was $1,008,000 and change. Where did the extra 200-something thousand come from? Didn't come from this board.
No, the town share was increased from 1.7 to 2,000,006.
Right.
$2,065,000.
$300,000.
So that $250,000 that was applied that we have from the state, they're going to use that to make up for that difference. So there'll be no additional appropriation.
Zach?
We appropriated $1.8 million.
Right.
Right.
And then we received a grant, $250,000.
Oh, the grant.
Right, the grant.
The appropriation 1.8 was it, the grant was above and beyond, or that was planned for up front? I don't remember.
The federal grant was actually never deposited into our funds. It was paid separately, so that 1.8 represented the 25% of the town's share.
Correct.
Okay. So they're on schedule, or they will be on schedule to complete it before the winter?
Absolutely, so that,
They're gonna make it bigger than they thought,
correct.
so our yachts will be able to fit in.
Maybe
Travel farther.
yours, I don't have one. But yes.
Town yacht.
Oh, so we have one? Oh,
That's the
must
select.
have to be, yeah.
We have a scuba dive.
Any, sir?
Mr. Chairman, as you know, I'm on that subcommittee, and I've gone down there at least once every 2 weeks just to see the progress. And I have seen the barges maybe about halfway down the pond from where they were, the old town dump, towards the bridge. And they've been going on a steady base, and I don't see any problems. I haven't seen any reports from the progress schedule that they have, but if Mr. Valani says, you know, they're on schedule or near to on schedule, That's a good sign.
You get, I'm sorry, Rick, you get reports how often?
Usually about once a month, I get a report from
Can
Bonnie.
you get any on that list so we can all end up getting copies of those?
Because the contractor is required to provide a progress schedule and a schedule of values so we can monitor the performance and the payments made out.
Yeah, we can do that, sure.
He's a government guy. Got two government guys here.
No, we can do that, that's fine.
No, it's good to see that they are moving towards the bridge, and
Yeah,
it's
then
nice.
again, they're gonna go 7 days a
You
week.
can see behind the
12
barge,
days
the
to
water is nice and clean.
do that.
Where are they, and the place that they're depositing all of this stuff that?
It's up in the northwest corner of the
how's that being
pond.
built up?
Yes, that's gonna be wetland area for turtles, frogs, and birds, and but from where the launch is at the old dump, all down to the bridge, is gonna be pretty much clean. As Ms. Bellani said, up to 10 to 12 feet, except in this case here, the exception. But you're gonna have a nice, big, wide-open body of water for small boats. I don't know if there's gonna be any restrictions on that afterwards for water quality, banning motors.
Already
Such-
happened.
Already there, yeah,
Already banned.
restrictions already exist.
Yeah,
Okay.
we did a bylaw, I believe.
Yeah.
Unless you got a small trolling electric motor or something like that won't affect you, but it's coming out nice.
Want to fish for turtles? All right, any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just a quick question. I know that one of the big obstacles to this was the people on the north side that you were talking about where the fill was gonna be put, were gonna be complaining about bad effects of having the fill there, and we've had a warm summer. Have we had any complaints about people, about the smell, and, because that was one of the big things that obviously they had an issue with. But there was no, we've had no problems up there at all?
Not that I've been made aware of.
No, I haven't heard anything either.
I will double check to make sure that's the case, though.
Right, because I have been talking with Dino on a regular basis, and he has not heard anything either.
Good.
That was a concern.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And no issues with the material that's being dredged for any, mercury or chemicals or anything?
No.
No.
I think since we cleaned that area of the pond up, I think we should be, it was supposed to be in good shape after that.
Anyone taking photographs of the whole work being
I
done?
believe they have photographs. I've seen some. I haven't seen any recently, but I have seen photographs, yes.
Want to make a movie is,
You could have a time lapse. Someone put a time lapse up.
I don't know if they did that.
We've got
late
an
for
extra
that now.
camera, I think, in a cemetery
Yeah,
somewhere.
cemetery, pull it out there, Bobby. Use it over there.
any other? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I don't know, Scott said he was gonna be here. He no S. Key.
Oh,
Mr. Murray's
He's
not
got
here.
20 minutes.
Well, 7:15, 7:35.
Well, you do mine? Jonathan's not coming in until about 8 o'clock. I can handle it.
No. Why don't we, Zach, if you have a few minutes,
Yeah.
A, would you introduce the new treasurer, and B, maybe you would run down what we discussed about the Woodland, how we're going to pay for Woodland
Yeah,
going
for
forward.
up to the financial aspect of it.
Well, I really want Scott to talk about when he comes in, but. Zach made a good presentation to the executive committee on financing the Woodland School. And I thought it was important that he talk about that tonight and go over it, and so, I don't know, are we on TV or not?
You're being taped, yes.
Okay. So that the public would understand how this is going to be funded going forward, and the executive committee pretty much agreed with the philosophy here. Things may change a little bit depending on certified free cash, et cetera, but at the moment.
Thank you.
I think we're,
Oh, okay, sure.
we're gonna be in good shape. So, have at it, Zach.
All right, so first off, I want to introduce Chris Pillar, our new treasurer. Started a little over a month ago, doing an excellent job, very pleased.
Welcome aboard, man.
Thanks.
Nobody has name tags, so
Oh,
maybe,
yeah, Paul's not here.
I don't know if you wanted to,
We know who we are.
yeah, there you go.
Well, I don't know, I mean, we can go around real quick, unfortunately. You're right, I don't know what happened to Paul and Bruce gonna be out tonight, I totally forgot.
Yeah.
Why don't we just go around?
Mark Nicholson.
Chuck Mickelsovich. Bob DeVito.
Jeff Nero.
Aldo Chagy.
We met Mark Shane, our secretary Diana.
Mike Soros.
Vinnie Velastro?
Mike Schiavi.
Chris Moran.
Joyce Levine.
We have, about 3 or 4 people not here tonight,
Yep.
so, not here.
So I distributed this spreadsheet last time. It's presented as a balance sheet and an income statement, and since the executive committee, we updated it a little bit. So right now, we had done a ban, which is the bond anticipation note of $6 million. Considering the $6 million, which is meant to help with our cash flow and get us till we're closer to the end of the project, so we have a better idea on what we actually want to bond. Even though we borrowed $6 million, it was really meant to get us through year end without having a deficit in one of these funds, which would then be a direct whack against free cash. So we borrowed $6 million at the time, and knowing that we could get through a little bit until we'd have to do another band to get us to the next level. So even with the $6 million, we currently have a deficit in that fund of $4.4 million. So about 3 weeks ago to a month ago, we started the process of bringing bond counsel back in, looking at our cash flow, looking what we really need to spend in this fiscal year, and decided to borrow $17 million. Now, of course, we take into account that we're getting potentially up to 59% from MSBA, but we also have some huge bills coming down the line this fiscal year. This fiscal year alone, we're talking close to $40 million. So we have a pretty good financial cash flow, but not that good. So we had to, we had to borrow $17 million. We literally awarded the band today to the low bidder. I give Chris an opportunity to talk to that a little bit, and the selectmen will vote it in on Monday, and then we'll have cash in hand 3 days later, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. But the results of the bids were fantastic. I'll let Chris go through that.
So we had three companies that bid on it. We went with JP Morgan. They came in at a rate of 2%. They gave us a premium of $235,000 that we can apply to our interest. So we're looking at, after all the premium and the issuance cost, look at that we'll probably have to pay about $60,000 in interest at the end of the fiscal year by July 1st of 2016.
So that's on $17 million. So that it's excellent. It's really, really good. Yeah. Yeah.
Great, jump in. If there's anybody who wants to ask a question, I mean, sure.
Zach, one of the things that you and I have a couple of times with regards to cash flow projections, my presumption is you still have all the cash flow projections you need. 'Cause
Correct.
when you don't have it, you usually let me know.
Yes, you're right.
Right.
Yeah.
And from what I can see here, is we are doing what you and I had spoken about doing, is getting the bills and the checks issued and approved so we could get MSBA reimbursement on a monthly basis rather than let them pile up. So from what I see is we're doing reasonably well.
Yeah.
Getting the reimbursements because we're able to get all of our business news to Boston in an appropriate amount of time. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I wish it was a little bit faster. However, yes, I think it's going as quick as possible, and I do like the process. It's definitely working. If you're doing the numbers quick in your head, you can obviously see that we're waiting on two reimbursements of significant dollar amounts.
Right.
I'm not sure you're probably aware, but I know the state had some questions and needed some additional supporting documentation. To my understanding, the project manager has since provided that information, and it's in the final stages. So, like, literally any day now, I'm expecting around $3.2 million, which, again, just helps out.
Well, what everyone needs to know is that what we submit is not necessarily going to be reimbursed at 100%.
Correct.
Because there are issues that they will not accept and they'll reject. So that's the difference between the 59% and 100%.
Exactly. So far, project to date, I should say, $83,000 has been ineligible, and to my understanding, there's been an attempt to resubmit those amounts.
When they make the modifications that they need to on explanations.
Correct, correct. So, in summary, I mean, it's working great. We're moving right along.
Well, you know, we're very appreciative of what you're doing, because the quicker we get it to you, the faster you get it to Boston, and the sooner the money returns here. So I think we have a very good relationship working with the financial department to keep you informed and getting our hands on as much reimbursement money as we can. And I thank you for that, because it's a lot of work.
Thank you. I agree with everything you just said. It's working out great.
Okay, so, go ahead.
Zach, one more question. From the executive meeting to now, that was on 8/12, so that's been less than a month. I'm noticing here that our liability on our due has gone up 3.7 million, and yet due from MSBA hasn't gone up at all. It's still at 3.1. Can you explain to me why?
We've processed an additional $5 million, and as we're kind of going back and forth with this, it's not a really quick process. It's definitely at least a month and a half turnaround. So I don't actually adjust that figure until I have some kind of commitment.
Okay, so even though the numbers are changing, you're not changing here because you don't know?
I'm not committed to the numbers,
Okay.
but it would be reasonable to say that, yes, we would be receiving more money than that, yeah.
Give and take.
So the next obvious question is, how and when are we gonna impact the stabilization account?
So our plan right now is the 6 million's gonna come due, the first ban is gonna come due in May. We'll be obligated to pay that back plus the interest. We had asked this 17 million to come due on July 1st. At the time, I thought we were gonna have a significantly higher amount. So what we'll probably do is encumber the funds from FY16 and just pay that off. So that's gonna be 6 million plus 17. So simultaneously, we're gonna be looking to take it long-term, because we're gonna have to at this point. And we plan on borrowing upwards of 28 million, which would be expected to be our low end, if you will. At that point, that'll happen probably May, the end of June. The principal and interest from the general fund will definitely be ready to rock and roll, and we'll have to be obligated to pay that effective FY17. Now, this year, we're probably gonna end up doing one more very, very healthy stabilization contribution. Considering that stabilization contribution, the impact on the overall stabilization account when we do have to start withdrawing is gonna be very minimal. We probably will not drop below 10 million at any given point. We definitely will have to tap into it at times to control the debt if we wanna remain around 3.5 million for debt limitation. But even with that said, with considering 500,000 as a contribution per year, and considering even a low interest rate of 2% per year, there'll still be not a drastic impact on stabilization, and that's because we've been fortunate enough over the past few years to really buckle down and contribute to that account.
Plus, when we did the calculation 3 or 4 years ago, we were trying to justify and manage the capital, the stabilization account. We based the loan on 5% interest rate. So we were extremely high.
Yeah, and it's unlikely that we would get something that large.
Right, and so the numbers that we projected back then were reasonable at that interest rate. So with a much lower interest rate, obviously the numbers are gonna be much better. And with the amount of money that we've been putting in that account and will put in that account, will help us quite a bit. So we should be.
All good news.
All good news, Mr. Chairman. Just informatively, there's a decent chance when we do actually bond this, you're seeing blended rates right now. So you could, in like year 1, 2, and 3, see a 5% interest rate, and then it goes down. But also, as you're seeing, there's humongous premiums right now, and we can do special treatment with that premium to offset the costs. So we're investigating that right now, and we'll have a solid plan on how to relieve the burden in the event we do have some larger interest rates like that.
Interest rates are going up, so.
Yeah.
Question?
Yes, sir.
What is our bond rating today?
It's, what's it, double A?
One double A?
Yes,
Yep.
it is 1 double A. Yep, the band actually gives you a different rating, but it is 1 double A for bond rating.
Any other
And
questions?
that's two away from the top, right there, you know?
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Very good.
Anything else, guys? Zach, appreciate it. Chris, appreciate it.
No
You
problem.
should put us on the top, Zach.
They should.
We're worth it.
Yeah. They say the only reason why we're not at the top, two reasons. One, because we do have debt. Typically, they assign something like that if you have zero debt. And the second is our median income for the town is
Then we can't control
below
that.
average, and you can't control that.
Fix that. The third one is the other chairman of the subcommittee.
Yeah.
The building.
That should be the first.
They did say that.
I'm offended.
First time.
Third. I want to be one.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
I don't know where Scott is.
Chris.
Why don't you just hang in
Yeah.
a minute? So, why don't we?
Saw your
just-
father,
you
Gary
got
and
for
Maria.
Brooke?
I said hi, then he
Okay,
brought
well,
us you.
I thought Scott said he was gonna be here.
He's usually pretty good, Mark.
Say again?
He's usually pretty good.
Oh, I know. All right, I'll tell you what, Zach, why don't we just wait? Brian's here. Brian, you mind moving up in the agenda?
Yeah, wherever you want.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
I'd really like Chris to be here. I mean, Scott to be here.
All right.
You know who you want to be?
I have no idea. I'm totally losing it at my age, guaranteed.
Got the high microphone here, what's that?
You get to stand, Brian.
If you want to, yeah, okay.
How are
Hello,
you?
folks. How are you?
Bye.
Good evening.
Evening.
What would you like?
We would like to get an update on where we are at the youth center,
Okay.
budget-wise,
Okay.
project-wise, et cetera.
Well, schedule-wise, the contract originally was calling for a December completion date. We're still kind of in that time frame, but it could be a little bit longer than that. We've encountered a tremendous amount of structural problems, both inside the building and outside the building. You know, Mark, you got a chance to go through, so you saw a lot of the structural work. Once we tore apart the walls and the ceilings, we got to see what was done there over the years, and it was not pretty. And we can just assume that it was done by the National Guard or some sort of representative from the state. Clearly not any licensed contractor. For example, up on the top floor, they cut into the support joists, made the actual support joists, that would be on the northeast corner of the building, kind of look like a pumpkin, a Halloween mouth, a jack-o'-lantern mouth. So they cut through all the support to put the toilets in upstairs. That led to the ceiling below falling because it wasn't properly supported. And also on the upstairs, they cut into original supports, which must have been put there in 1911, for some renovations that were done at some point. You know, we never got any records from this building, so we're kind of guesstimating things in terms of the materials used and you know, what was done, you know, trying to figure out a time frame because the state, you know, provided us with absolutely nothing on this building. So, in fact, I got, you know, just to give you some large numbers here to tell you, you know, kind of where the contingency's going. The structural work that we had to do essentially in the head house, that was about an extra $80,000 that we didn't anticipate. We had thought that we could save portions of the plaster walls, but as we took down other portions of the plaster walls, it just wasn't practical to do that. It was just weakened so much that it just came down. So, and again, this is 100-plus-year-old plaster that we're talking about.
We'll see if that.
Huh?
We'll see if plaster.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. So I guess, you know, going into it, trying to be optimistic to save a portion of it, you know, really wasn't realistic. And it's certainly not, you know, the best product that we could have gotten. So we took all of that plaster out. That was the cost of about $23,000. Now, as I think all of you know, there's a tremendous, or there was, not anymore, there was a tremendous water problem in that building. And, you know, the analysis that we had done, water was coming from everywhere. Water was coming from under the ground. Water was coming from the pipes that were leaking. Water was coming from the door and window entries. Water was coming from the roofs to the storm drains that, to the roof pipes that weren't connected to the storm drains. So we picked off each one of those items one by one. The major one is there's basically like an underground river underneath that building. So we ran into a tremendous amount of ledge, not only to establish 3 tunnels, or I guess funnel areas with sump pumps, commercial, high-grade commercial sump pumps at the end of those trenches, but we also ran into a tremendous amount of ledge to go down to the elevator pit. Had to get down probably about 6 feet to get the elevator pit in. Tremendous amount of ledge, couldn't get machinery in there, had to be hand done. We did it on a time and materials basis. The ledge work alone cost $40,000. Probably what everyone has noticed, and I don't know, there's an online presence, there's a lot of questions of the trim up on the top of the building, okay? I call it the dental work. The wall that went around the top of the building and still goes around the top of the building is called the parapet. And the turrets are the towers that had risen from the protruding towers in the front. And the crenellations were the actual dental work that was across the head house of the building. I never knew those words. I learned them. What we discovered as we started doing some of the masonry repair work is that a lot of that work up on the roof, when it was quote-unquote repaired, was done so with a rubberized caulking, which actually hurt the building more than helped it, because it sealed in water as it came down through the granite blocks, got behind the blocks, and basically destroyed all of the support mortar and brick backing of that stonework. And those stones, you know, they're about 8 to 10 inches rectangular. So as we removed some of that caulking, also discovered that these stones were never pinned, you basically had a loose stone that you could just
You gotta be kidding.
tip over. And that's what was there around the trim.
Stone.
Yeah.
Well, it was good when they had the siege and people started to run up to the building, just.
Yeah.
Yeah, we poured down the boiling hot tar and just threw stones at it. And,
Did that still work?
yeah, yeah. So that was, you know, very disappointing to find that. Obviously, the intent of the committee was to restore the building as was. And just to get an idea of the kind of cost that we're talking about in terms of rebuilding the turrets, okay, and the crenellations, the initial price that we got from the subcontractor, not even once it gets to the contractor level, not even when you get into design costs, anything like that, the initial cost would have been $350,000. You know, we asked them to sharpen their pencil a little bit, and you know, they did, and I think it went down to like $250,000, so you know, it wasn't sharp enough. So we looked at alternatives, and the alternative was to eliminate that crenellation work. And just to give you the progression of negotiations and things that we had to go through to get this project within budget, subcontractor prices only. Initially, $93,000, we said, Then to $53,000, we said, Finally got it down to $26,000. The entire cost to do what you see there now was about $30,000. And what's happened is all of the crenellations have been removed around the head house. The turrets have been dropped to the roof line, and the crenellations have just been restored on the tops of the turrets. Now, actually, what this does is give us a much better building, because all of that work up on the roof was decorative, had a tremendous amount of weight, put a tremendous amount of pressure on the roof, and also established a lot of cut lines in the roof. So now taking down those turrets allowed us to take down 2 extraneous unused chimneys and some other things that were up on the roof, which I don't know what they were, but they were kind of related to the turret. The bottom line is, now if you go on that roof of the head house, it's smooth and the seal goes all the way into the crevices of the turret. So it's going to give us a much better building. There's not a lot of excess cosmetic weight, and we have a much tighter seal on the roof. So, and you know, aesthetically, you know, I think all of us kind of think it really modernizes the building, kind of retrofits it to what it is going to be now, a youth center. It's no longer a fort, but you still have enough decorative items up there, you know, to get that armory feel. So the committee really wrestled with those decisions. It wasn't easy, but, you know, financially speaking, it was by far the best decision, and project-wise as well. Now, the other thing that we were able to do, because the project did not call for a lot of finish work on the interior of the building, we figured we could get, you know, the rooms done that are going to be used, and then allow the youth center to grow into it. But we did target about $50,000 to increase some of the interior finish work. So not all of the rooms on the upper floor are going to be finished, but we're going to have the perimeter walls finished so that the windows can have a match, have an attachment, and that there is some stud work at this point. The goal is to have the entire first floor finished, which is really the guts of the building, and the basement minimal at best finish work. And in retrospect, that's a much better decision than putting sheetrock in the basement, because even though we have those 3 sump pumps which go 24/7, even though we've increased, you know, the drainage capabilities, it's still damp down there. It's still kind of wet, and it's just going to kind of eat away at the sheetrock. And when you get a chance to go in there, and if any of you do want to go see it, just, you know, we can make arrangements with Bonnie. It'll be, I think it'll be a real eye-opener for you. But you go down that basement, we tore away all of that old plaster, horsehair plaster, and you see some nice brickwork. You know, it's not bad for rough finish. It's all the brick that's on the other side of the granite. So the basement, actually, even the architect said, you know, something, I like this look, you know. So aesthetically, I think it's going to turn out okay. The last 2 things that we ran into, you know, every time we left one project or one part of the project, we thought we were out of the woods, and then we just went into a different woods. So the head house roof had a lot of deterioration on the southern side, and
Talking about the gym now.
the head house, that's the rectangular building in front. Yeah, the gym roof wasn't bad on the north side. The south side, which faces Town Hall, was very deteriorated. The sub roof was very deteriorated, and you may have noticed there were a bunch of boards that were replaced, you know, during the project. So, you know, to put a whole new roof on this building was definitely the way to go, because the sub roofing was really deteriorated in a lot of spaces. You know, interestingly, the north side was not. And I don't know how that happens, but, you know, the south side really did have the whack. And some portion of the head house, again on the southern side, had the deterioration. So, you know, what they did was, you know, they just put in new supports, kind of wedged them into the granite. I don't know how the heck they did it. You know, you're dealing with heavy steel, you know, big pieces of wood, stone, granite, and they fit it in there just like, you know, they're, you know, putting a pillow on the shelf or something. So the work that has been done has been remarkable. The contractor, RAC, has been top-notch. You know, the architect, OMR, has been top-notch. Vonnie, you know, has been doing a great job, you know, overseeing this project. I think the committee's worked really hard. And the final problem that we have run into, again, we thought we were out of the woods, the subfloor to the gym. There's a lot of areas where the supports have rotted out. So initially it was thought, replace the whole thing. Again, cost prohibitive, would have been in excess of $100,000. We don't have that kind of money. So we had a pre-construction meeting with the flooring subcontractor, the general, the architect, and they've targeted the areas that sank. Essentially, some of the support wood that was not resting on brick or stone walls rotted out, and those are the areas that dipped. So they're going spot by spot and addressing those areas to get it up to a level. The flooring subcontractor comes in, they shoot a laser on it, because it has to be level for us to have the warranty, you know, for the gym floor. So we did run into some ledge during the site work, doing the drain lines that run, you know, along the north and south portions of the building. Not much, some ledge. In terms of money, the original contingency budget, and again, I'm just talking about the contingency, everything else is online. Budget-wise, the construction cost was roughly 4.2, balance of the project 5.1 was soft cost, engineering, et cetera. So the contingency portion of that was about 460,000. Right now, with not only what we have used for change orders, but also what we have encumbered that we see, like we know that it's going to cost $36,000 to level the subfloor, so that number's in there. The contingency budget is about $38,000. Now, Representative Fernandez and Senator Fatman were good enough to secure an additional $50,000 from the state, so that brings it up to about $80,000 and $90,000. So that's the number we're at. The committee most recently talked about the fact that the paving on the exterior of the project is only to pave over what's been disturbed. So when you see the exterior, you're going to kind of see a patchwork of pavement. The thought is, you know, if we're there and you know, everything's mobilized and it's going to be cut up, we're going to try to get some estimates to see what it would cost to repave the whole thing, and also get an idea as to what it might be to finish off some of these rooms. And when I have those numbers, Mr. Chairman, I'll let you know and see if that's something that, you know, the town, the committee might want to pursue. You know, it does make a lot of sense to get as much stuff done as you can on a project like this while you're in there and cutting into it and ripping it up and putting it back.
And I just want to say, I'm new to the committee, but Mr. Chairman, Brian, the committee, I think, in my opinion, has done a great job with this whole project. There's so many obstacles they ran. And Brian, I don't know if you want to talk about the kitchen. I mean, that wasn't the original plan, so that was it?
Yeah, that's a good idea. The Youth Commission has been very adamant that they want to have a kitchen, so we've gone through a few iterations of what a kitchen might be. They're working with Lowe's, so Lowe's is going to contribute cabinetry. I think they want to reach out to some other vendors to see if they can get some appliances. We're basically putting the rough work in so that, you know, if the kitchen's not going in today, it's going to be easily installed at some point in the future. But the committee's looking beyond town resources to try to fund that. So it's an integral part of their program. It's something they really want to have.
Question, Mr. Chairman? Sure. Brian, if you're going to have a kitchen there at some point, have you done all of the prep work so that you're not gonna have to do the prep work once you start?
Yeah, you know, yeah, and that's what, you know, Jeff was talking about. So initially, you know, if you're talking about a commercial range, well, you need to have it vented. And you know, initially they thought it was gonna have to be a vented, you know, exterior to the building. You're gonna have to either cut in the stone, or God forbid, you know, we don't wanna cut any roof lines. Now, that roof is down, it's tight, we don't wanna cut anything into it. So Vonnie, and I think Marcella, the architect, came across a venting system that recycles. So it doesn't have to be vented outside. So basically, the framework's gonna be put in, the electric, the infrastructure, so that if we wanna go forward with that recycling vent, it can be easily installed.
Grease traps, thinking about that?
They're not gonna get to that level. We're only talking about, you know, a smaller type kitchen, but if anything, it might have to be internal with whatever they have, but this is not gonna be like a large commercial kitchen.
That's fine.
This is just gonna be like a
More
residential thing for, you know, to have like a snack program for the kids or something like that.
The more you can get ahead of the game, the better off you're gonna be.
Yeah, I know.
A couple questions, Brian. Great report, by the way. But I have a couple things. First, the roof on the head house. I assume this new design saved quite a bit of money without all these cuts.
Yes and no. one would think that, let me just see if I have that cost off the top of my head. I'm not sure what it was, but, it was a little on the plus side. It did cost us more. It wasn't a great credit. We did get a credit, but I think overall, we had to pay a little bit. But it was, you know.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I
when they
think
do
it
the
was-
roof and they have to cut it 17 times around, because there was a lot of
Exactly.
stuff up there.
Exactly, and
so.
I think Jeff brought that up, and it wasn't so much that, but there was the structural work that I guess had to get done under, which kind of offset that plus. But the number,
It's small.
it was under 10 grand.
Okay.
I mean, it might have been about 5 grand or something, but it was a little bit to the, I guess, to the negative.
Yeah,
Now,
Chris,
the big-
I'm sorry.
No, good.
That was what the architect had said was they had to put all the supports, to take the crenellation out. They did have to make all the cuts, but to put the roof back the way it was with the flashing, they had to put all the support into the granite, and just, it didn't save a lot of money, like Brian said, it didn't save as much as I thought it was gonna. I asked the exact same question.
Because
Now, the other
we
thing-
tried to grab credits wherever we did, like the
Yeah.
plaster number that I gave you. So that was a $23,000 net. We had gotten a $33,000 credit on plaster work that was not done. So, you know, that could be like a $56,000 hit.
Now, the basement, you brought up something that concerned me, and I just want to be, because maybe I'm not understanding. When you say that it's damp in the basement,
The basement.
were there were plans to have some things down there, weren't there?
Absolutely, there is.
So now I'm worried about, we had big plans for the basement, and now we have a moisture problem.
Well,
What do we need to do, or what do you think that we need to do to solve this problem? And
well, we don't have big plans for the basement. The basement is always a primarily storage area. There is an elevator that comes down. It's gonna go to the base of the stairway. That area is gonna be finished. By code, it does have to be finished. The big room is the room that's really, well, there's 2 rooms, I guess. And, you know, the first room is in the southeast corner, which is the fitness room, weights and all of that sort of thing. The northeast corner was the damp room, the dance room, which is kind of damp.
Yeah.
The northeast corner was the dance room. So those are the 2 plans that they have. Right now, those rooms are unfinished, meaning it's still the rough cement against the wall, it's the brickwork. They're usable, and the wetness and the dampness problem has been improved 99%. But, you know, you're down about 6 feet in the ground. You've got basically just granite against dirt. It's just, you know, it's a difficult thing, you know, so you've got the windows there. And, you know, it's not like it's an unlivable situation or unusable situation. I guess my point was, the level of dampness, I think, would lead to decay of sheetrock over an extended period of time. So I would certainly, and I think the architect and certainly the contractor agrees, minimize the amount of sheetrock in the basement.
And last question, I'm sorry. I watched the TV show, which I thought was excellent, in which a gentleman walked some children through, because I have not been over to see it.
Oh,
He walked the
yeah.
kids through the building, and he showed them all the rooms and everything. And there was quite a lot on the second floor, which I know you know, and now we're saying it's going to be unfinished.
No, not all unfinished. There are some rooms that are unfinished. For example, when you go up the top of the stairs, the first room that you hit was the music room. That's gonna be unfinished. But there's gonna be a door on it. So you can close that door, and that room is perfectly contained. Now, to the right of that, there's gonna be some bathrooms, totally finished. To the back of that is a very large conference room, classroom, which is gonna have a glass overlooking the gym, totally finished.
So how much of the, I know, I hate to put you on the spot, but how much of the second floor do you believe, before we thought was gonna be finished, is now gonna be unfinished? I mean.
No, the reverse is true. Initially, it was going to be more unfinished than it is now. So we committed about $50,000 to do more finish work on the upstairs. The problem was that we tried to rely upon the old plaster to give us some finished walls, but that didn't prove to be practical. We just couldn't do it. So now a lot of those walls are unfinished, but we've committed $50,000 to refinish them.
So we're not losing anything from what we first thought of that second floor to help for the budget?
You know, I'd have to look at the plans to tell you off the top of my head. I know, you know, obviously the bathroom, the elevator, the perimeter wall, I call it the classroom, I think a conference room overlooking the gym, the corridor. I think maybe the office that, you know, faces easterly might be unfinished. Okay, but not the perimeter walls. We're gonna do all the perimeter walls, so it's just an interior wall, but anything that's gonna be unfinished, we're gonna have a door. We're hoping that, you know, we're going to be able to try to, you know, squeeze the orange a little bit more and, you know, get some of that stuff finished so that the whole thing's done. The goal, the priority on finished work, okay, we took all resources from the basement, because it called for the dance room to be finished, so we took all resources from the basement. The first floor is gonna be totally finished. You know, that's the main floor as you walk in to go to the gym. So all resources went to the first floor, secondarily to the second floor, and then I guess if we had some resources, you could consider, you know, finishing the basement, but that's not on our radar screen.
Okay. Because I think you know what I'm insinuating. We don't, as a committee, I'm sure everyone's thinking, are we taking away things we thought we were gonna do to make sure we get it on budget, and then all of a sudden, 6 months from now, we're like, we need to finish 3 rooms at the
Well,
Armory, so.
it has been a rob Peter to pay Paul.
That's what I had.
You know, because you're just going to where, you know, the biggest emergency is. You know, to be honest with you, and I don't wanna be dramatic, but it's true, more than one of the professionals said over there that it's a miracle that we didn't have a tragedy. The ceiling on the southeastern side on the second floor was down about 4 inches, at least 4 inches.
I can vouch for the work that was done, mechanical work to shore that place up. I mean, if you recall, when we even discussed this project, I said that when we open up the walls and take off this, we're gonna find a lot of stuff in a 100-year-old building that we didn't know was there. And sure enough, I mean, you can't imagine what they did to reinforce that building. There's steel I-beams that run from north to south, holding up the first floor, okay, from the basement. There are 4x8 solid wood beams that were put in instead of steel, because they couldn't put steel, holding up some of the rooms in the second floor. I mean, it's just incredible the amount of work that was done because of what was done originally, as Brian said, to add in, and they actually cut main beams. And there was about this much left on some of the main beams.
It was unbelievable.
Was about to fall in. I mean, thank God, he's right. Nothing ever happened over there, because some of the places looked like it was ready to fall apart, literally ready to fall apart. So they've done an admirable job. I mean, I would say that if there's gonna be that many unfinished spaces, then I think it's up to the youth center and their fundraising efforts to try and get as much money as they can to start finishing off some of the other places once they get in there and start going. With respect to the basement, I just had a question. With the heating system, once it comes on, that'll eliminate some of the dampness. But what about dehumidifier?
Oh, absolutely. And again, I don't want to, you know, mislead everybody that it's really this damn thing down there. Yeah, it's really not. It's a basement, you know, in stone. My point is that I don't know that sheetrock is the best long-term investment for that particular area.
I think you're right. I think you're right, because the basement does look fine.
Right, subsurface, exactly.
Does look fine,
Yeah.
and the way it's finished or unfinished is perfectly acceptable. You know, it's what would eclectic or
Hey, you
Brooklyn
know,
Baroque. I mean,
that weight room is old school, buddy. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, you get in there with the concrete
It pumps you
walls and the
up.
bricks, you got some metal going, that's the place to be. So, you know, it definitely has, you know, the right feel for what the function, you know, is gonna be.
Brian, you talked about a couple of commercial grade sump pumps that were installed to handle
Three of
the
them.
underwater
Yeah,
river. Were those part of the original design?
yes.
They were.
Yes,
Okay.
the architect, the committee, even before we got out of the starting gate, we looked at about 2 or 3 different alternatives to try to target the water. And at that point, we really didn't know where the water was coming from, except everywhere. You know, so the architects eventually settled on this scheme, this plan, to have the 3 trenches and there's 3 sump pumps. 1, 2, yeah, there's 3 sump pumps, so the trenches go right to the 3 sump pumps, and those things are running all the way, and then they take it right out to the storm drain.
Thank you. The only thing I would say is that should be a red flag to whoever is preparing the electrical portion of the budget, because if those are running 24/7, they're drawing a lot of current.
Could be,
Oh,
sure,
yeah, I'm sure they are.
could be.
That's all, just a
And
comment. Thank
those
you.
were backed up too, I thought they were backed up.
There's no generator, but there's a system on the far wall, the far westerly wall, which has, you know, the red light on it, and it's got enough warnings on it if those things aren't working.
Yeah, well, the
What if
concern
they-
was-
what if they lose
Battery
power?
backup in there?
Right, if you lose
I
power.
Probably
don't-
not.
I know you brought that up, and we looked at it, is there
I
a
brought it up
battery
when I went to
backup?
see it.
Yeah,
Mr. Jim, Fonnie, I know, is investigating a backup generator because one of the concerns was, A, it runs all the time, so obviously there's a lot of water there.
Right.
So we lose power for 2 days, the basement's gonna flood. That's number one. Number two, if the heat goes out, it's a sprinklered building. So if it's winter time, we could have frozen pipes. So it's like, Fonnie, I know, was looking at a generator for the heat and for the pumps, at least for basic, just to maintain the building. But I don't know where that's at, to be honest with you.
25 KW should get.
It wasn't giant, but I mean, it was still,
25 KW will get.
but still significant, you know, wasn't in the original budget, so it's just a,
it's not in our budget.
$30,000
Do we,
expenditure.
do we have a generator at Woodland? Backup generator at Woodland? Not the new building, the old building.
Yes.
How big?
It's
Not very
30,
big.
it's
It's
30
not like-
KW.
Big enough to do what they need.
It's gotta be all refitted because it doesn't meet EPA.
It doesn't, what?
It will not qualify to be used there because it needs to be refitted to comply with EPA regulations.
Cost,
I have no idea.
worth looking into. Any other questions?
In the meantime, there's no generator in this building either.
I know. There's no water in this building.
Well, but you have elevators, you have everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach, sorry.
So Chairman, I just wanted to talk about the financial plans of the remainder of the project. So if you recall, in May of 14 is when town meeting voted the project. At the time, we had to authorize $4 million in bonding, unauthorized, unissued, authorized, unissued, I'm sorry. The following town meeting, we were able to appropriate $3 million and rescind respectively $3 million, leaving currently $1 million outstanding right now. I've been in front of this board, been in front of the selectmen, being vocal about our plan should be to try to rescind the remaining $1 million. It was our hope that we would have a good free cash year. We definitely do. I'm not prepared to release the number at this time as it's uncertified, but it should definitely be our goal at this town meeting to rescind the remaining $1 million through free cash.
I think, thank you, Zach. I think that this committee would advocate for that since our objective is to reduce long-term debt anyhow. And if we can afford to not bond stuff at this point in time, be the right thing to do, that would give us some capacity in the near future. So when the time comes, we'll talk about advocating for that if the money is available. Any other questions? Brian, thank you, I appreciate
So
it.
if any of
Good
you
report.
wanna take a look at it, you know, let me know, you know, we can
worth-
go
it's worth
through
going through
there.
that building, I'll tell
I
you.
think you're gonna see a remarkable difference, you know, yeah,
It's pretty incredible.
yeah, thank you, thanks.
Brian.
you.
Don't go away. Sit down. You're the finance director? I don't know finances. Scott. Scott is, we'd like an update on Godfrey Brook, where we are, both from a project point of view and a funding point of view. I know, we all know that you've closed Main Street up there for the duration of the winter, and we just wanna know why.
1 month, hopefully.
We're actually right on schedule, within a foot on schedule, as they said today.
Give us an overview what's
Yeah,
going on.
they started the Westbrook, Cars Terrace sewer line. That was the changing of the grade of the sewer line. That's been completed. That was actually completed a month and a half ago. They've been working on the Main Street project. They got the replacement auto parts side pretty much done to the center of the road. Still have to do the other side, so that's half done, that part of the project. Hasn't been any real hiccups, everything's going smooth. Like I said, no problems. The traffic's been okay. The detour is at night. There's one-way traffic on Main Street at night. During the day, there's two-way traffic going one lane. So we have details stopping and letting traffic go, and it seems to be working very well, no complaints. There's no big backups going on. So at night, we shut down one way, and we have the westbound lane open for traffic. The eastbound lane has to go around through Green Street. But everything seems to be working out in that respect.
They working at night? They don't work at night?
They're not working at night, no. No.
So, I guess, why is it a one-way street at night and two-way during the
Because
day?
half the street is gone. They only have one
Oh,
lane.
I see, I
No
see.
detail.
I see. So it's really a one-way street, but we're just directing traffic
Right,
during the day,
and
two-way.
when they started the project, they were shutting the road down periodically and having one-way
I
traffic.
thought you were,
One-lane
you turned
traffic.
everybody up to Water Street.
No,
And,
no, they're coming, going east on Route 16, they're taking a right on 140, left onto Green Street, back out to Main Street. It seems to be working, no problems as far as I know. Like I said, the sewer line's been completed, that's that end of the project. They have not been at Westbrook or Commerce Terrace in over a month. That's kinda on hold until they're done with Main Street. So, I've applied this week for the first reimbursement from FEMA. I think that was around $100 grand. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head.
Yeah. All land been taken, all land taking's done?
Everything's done, yes, as far as that goes. So they're still on, they're basically still on time. Everything should work out fine. They do plan on finishing by the end of November. That's their deadline for them. That's what they said, that's what they're gonna do, and they're still on schedule for that.
Is that what the contract is?
No, contract is a year from April. This coming, April 2017 is the end of the contract. So we got a ways to go.
They're gonna be done in November.
Yep, yeah, they actually have 2 crews in there now. They started with 1, now they have 2 crews working. So their main thing is to get off Main Street, which they gave themselves a month to do. That was basically it, so. You know, they're calling the shots on the time. They're way ahead of us. We didn't expect it to be done as fast. Like I said, they were on their schedule, what they had planned, the schedule they gave us, they're right on it, so it's working. Like I said, no major problems, no major complaints. It's been pretty good, knock on wood.
Vin?
Scott, is the plan also to resurface Main Street? Because you know, it was pretty bad in many places.
Not in this project, just the section they're working on. That's another project that's set for 2018, a TIP project through the state. That's a whole separate thing, so.
Are we using hot top or concrete?
Hot top, they're gonna re-hot top the whole road. Do all new sidewalks, make them handicap accessible, some drainage work, and the intersection of 140 and 16 is gonna be rebuilt and widened. But like I said, that's off in the future.
Yeah.
Good, quit that one.
Yeah. That one needs to be done, but, we're gonna do some temporary work there after they finish with the culverts. I don't wanna cause more traffic problems there right now, so we're gonna do some patching and some leveling and try to smooth it out a little bit. But like I said, we gotta wait till the culvert's done.
When are you guys gonna be up, when are they gonna be up at Congress Terrace and finish that side?
They didn't really say. My guess in the next month.
Oh, so,
They seem to think that one's gonna go much quicker.
okay. So they're gonna finish Main Street within a couple of weeks, and then they're gonna be up at Congress Terrace, and they'll be done and done?
Yep.
Awesome.
That's what they say, the end of November.
So at this past May annual town meetings, when we had appropriated, the town meeting voted the project in, was 2.6 million. We actually raised and appropriated 500,000 coming out of this levy. We applied $1 million of free cash that we had at the time, and therefore we had to authorize bonding of 1.1 million. Now, when we were talking about this and we did that, we had no intentions of actually bonding this project. So FEMA is a reimbursable program of an expected $800,000, but that doesn't count when you're actually trying to appropriate the funds to award a bid. So hence coming in, we got a little fancy and we did authorization to bond. Now, at the time, we discussed actually rescinding the remaining, what would be $300,000 at this special town meeting. However, I feel that we should wait for the following annual town meeting because the project's not close to completion yet. It would be more or less stabbing and taking a guess at it, where in this particular case, we can handle this cash flow. By the time we get to the next annual town meeting, hopefully all of the FEMA money should be reimbursed to us, and we'll have a sense of exactly where we're at. Now, on top of that, we also got a $250,000 grant, so we're really talking $50,000. But I know we've been talking with Scott and Bonnie about the potential of using that fund, that grant fund, for a future project. However, I do believe it has to be depleted in this fiscal year, so that's,
It does have to be.
so
Last fiscal year.
We
we
actually,
actually
yeah.
received it on 7/2.
We actually,
Really?
Yeah. Even though I do agree, I know it's from the fiscal 15 state budget, but it did not come into our hands until 7/2, so can't really see how you could spend it. You know, but,
well, we did apply for 2 more grants, one for our stormwater plan, which is gonna cost us probably over $100,000 just in engineering. We have to have that for our hazard mitigation grants. So we've also applied for another grant for West Walnut Street, which we're in the process of doing now. So some of that money may be able to use, you know, for engineering for that, to get those grants. So, and we also want to keep some, just in case this goes over budget, we can always use it for that too, right?
Correct.
As long as it's before the end of the season, but,
correct.
so we haven't done anything with that yet, the 250,000.
So, we're talking about possibly appropriating 50,000 next fiscal, I'm sorry, at the annual
At the
town meeting.
annual town meeting, yeah.
Cover this whole thing, and I think there's also 750,000 in grant money that may in fact come from the state as well.
That may be available too, so yeah,
Right.
we may not have to apply anything. However, I think it'll be financially smart of us to carry some free cash into the annual town meeting, not only for that, but for other, whatever could happen as well,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think, again, when we have that discussion in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
we'll advocate to do that as well, after discussion. Any questions for Scott?
Straightforward project, looks like, sounds like it's going well.
So far, so good.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
You're all set now.
May I?
You may.
Yeah, that.
Front row.
This is more walking than you've done all day, yo.
Hi, Jonathan, how are you?
I'm fine, Mark. How are you?
I am
Hey, Jeff.
alive and well, living in Milford,
Living the dream.
pretty much.
Want me to move over one hour?
All right, last item is the largest project we have on tap. It's Woodland School. Aldo is the FinCom representative, also the chairman of that committee, and Jonathan is the vice chairman of that committee. So if you wouldn't mind, Aldo, give us a,
Sure.
other than on time, under budget.
On time, on schedule,
On
on
time.
budget.
What you heard the financial report from Zach.
Yes, we have.
And he's been extremely helpful. We've been working with him, and we're getting the money back as quickly as we can. And it's a cooperative effort, and it's working well for us. Essentially, what we're trying to do, and just since you mentioned that, the generator, one of the things that's going to occur there is, once the new building is open and ready to go, we'll begin to handle the existing building. Everything that's in that building has been made available to anyone in the community
particularly some of the different departments. I believe the youth center put in a request for some of the furniture that's there, so that will be honored. You mentioned the generator, and we've been trying to repurpose a lot of that stuff, and it is necessarily not some of the things that we can do. The biggest thing that we were trying to repurpose were the portable classrooms. The interesting thing with the portable classrooms is, well, at least 2 departments in town had indicated they'd like to take a look and see if they could reuse them. But the way they're designed, they share a wall and they share a roof, so in order for it to use it, you have to build another wall and split the roof, so it just wasn't working for repurposing in this particular town at this point in time. But what you need to know is that you were talking about the unexpected with Brian. I'm sorry.
Go back to the portables. What are we doing with them?
At this point in time, we are working with the manufacturer of the portables, attempting to sell back to them, and they're going to be coming out, when did he say, in a month?
Within a month, they
Within a
expect to
month,
be
they're
out.
going to view the portables, and hopefully they'll make us an offer, and that's the way it's going to go. So that's what we're going to, we don't want to destroy them because they're a valuable piece of.
Spent a lot of money on those portables.
Exactly,
They're
exactly.
really nice portables, too.
They're fully air conditioned, they have their own heating system, I mean, who wouldn't want one? Oh, how about the last few days? Who wouldn't want the fully air conditioned classroom? So, yeah, you're doing well. So that's what's happening, so we just have not decided to abandon everything, we're trying to repurpose as much as we can.
Besides talking to the manufacturer of the classrooms, have you thought about putting it out for bid?
The superintendent has in fact sought interested parties for that. He and I had spoken early on, and some of his confreres, as it were, may need portable buildings for some of their classrooms, but doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Really?
Yeah. I think our best bet, and Rob, our facilities manager, has a relationship with the company that manufactured these. So he is talking with them. I think that's going to be our best option as trying to recoup some of the dollars that were invested in it 5, 6 years ago.
Okay. I'm sorry.
And did you have a question on that?
No, that's all I want. I
All
didn't
right,
mean
what
to
we're,
interrupt.
one of the things we probably should do at some point is, what we're talking about right now is, as you know, the design of the buildings is actually 3 buildings, A, B, and C. Middle section is the 3-story, that's the general classroom area. Building A is, if we're looking at the building this way, Building A is the cafeteria, admin, music, and art rooms, that's 2 stories. Building C, to my left, that's the gymnasium area and some of the health units up there. Right now, what we have is B and C they all have their complete roofs, and they're in the process now of making the building watertight. And they put the floors in
All the slabs are done. The roof is almost complete on A. Within 6 weeks, the building is expected to be weather-tight. Weather-tight.
They're wrapping the building? They're not
Wrapping,
putting-
there's
wrapping the
a
building?
vapor barrier, there's a vapor barrier. It's a whole complicated system. There's a structural steel, steel's framed wall, insulation, sheetrock, vapor barrier, insulation, masonry exterior. And within 6 weeks, it will be weather-tight, and as we speak, the majority of Building C, which is the gym end, which is the end closest to Congress Street, the masonry work is substantially complete. The windows aren't in yet, but the masonry work is.
So they'll be able to work on the inside of it?
Oh, within 6 weeks, they'll be completely inside and not subject to the weather on the interior work.
back in the spring, they'll take that wrapping off, finish the outside.
I think they'll work, I'm convinced, I suspect they'll be working all through the winter. The masons now they actually works the vapor barrier people work Saturday. There were 6 folks out there working because the masons were catching up to them or passing them.
So they
So-
needed more work for the masons.
But the real good news is that we're out of the ground and the unknowns are behind us. Not that the unknowns were really unknown. We always knew that the field was a bury hole for the original school, and we found all the rocks that were buried there.
And there were plenty of them.
And there were plenty, but we're beyond that. We're out of the ground, and the unknowns are effectively behind us.
Some were crushed on site to the tune of 2,000 cubic yards of
I don't
gravel.
even remember. 20,000.
No, it was
2,000,
It was
whatever.
1,000 cubic yards.
Yeah.
2,000 yards, yeah.
What do we do with all that?
It's in the ground.
We have a
We
credit
have
from
a
the
credit,
gravel
and we're using
that
it
they would have
for
bought.
where it needs to go, because when you take the bad stuff out, you gotta put some good stuff in. And there was a lot of unsuitable soil, which was also parked there, and that had to be removed and replaced with what we could compact, as was necessary for that structure. Remember, we're looking at a 132,000 square foot building, so,
We all know this.
yeah, and, you know, it's,
Some,
but we're out, as Jonathan mentioned, we are out of the ground. And that is where you lose your time and lose your money.
Something else that we spent a lot of time on was making sure it was safe for the school year. We spent a lot of time on traffic flow and those sorts of things. And last I heard, it's working as well as was expected. It's working well. We have portable lighting that was brought in. I believe it started yesterday. There's another stanchion light, tower light coming in, I believe, tomorrow. So that for back-to-school night next Wednesday night, the driving areas and parking lots will be appropriately lighted. So we've tried to make sure that we didn't miss anything.
If you've been by there, you'll notice that the north parking lot, which is abuts North Vine Street, that's all paved with the binder, has the curbs in it. The other 2 parking lots that are in the inside of the facility similarly has been paved with the binder and the curbs, and the roadways in and the roadway out. It's not complete because it's going to be in front of the building once the building is ready. But we do have asphalt down, it's all binder. None of the wear course is going to go on that until after we've removed the existing building. The thought being that we really don't want to damage a brand-new road with, you know,
Heavy
20
equipment.
tons worth of equipment
And
running up and down.
To that point, we have stipulated that the demolition of the existing Woodland School will be done directly off of North Vine Street and not utilizing any of the new roadways.
So, I mean, that's where we are with that particular thing. You'll notice that the granite is all in, and beginning next
curbing.
week, the curbing, yes. Beginning next week, it's, we were told today at our construction meeting that they will begin to install the rooftop units in that area beginning next week, so we're gonna see some things up at that end. And you mentioned the fact that you might like to see what's going on. And we would very much encourage you, but we need to do it during the day, obviously. And it would, on a weekend would be fantastic, because when the youngsters are in school, there really is very little room
Should avoid
to move
that.
around. And what you
Avoid
don't
the
want to
week
be there is when the GC is working. So if you would like, I would suggest that we wait until mid-October, once the building has been wrapped, and once the building is there, and then bring you around so you can see what's happening over there. But we've received some great cooperation, and Jonathan has kind of led the charge, and, you know, because everything underground that we need underground is underground as we speak today. Jeff was very cooperative and managed to get things done for us, and Jonathan will tell you what we did to make the property ready for when we begin to put the utilities where they need to go. I'm not sure we'll run them through that.
Dug a hole and you.
Dug a hole, no, but Jeff.
It's a
no,
little more
Jeff-
than that.
Jeff
It
came,
was
Jeff
a
came
little
up there.
more than that.
We
It was-
wouldn't have been paved by now.
No.
If we didn't have some intervention from our good friends at Eversource.
Yeah. Really, the folks have been great.
It was just
and
wonderful.
the
Everything
light-
was
The
helpful.
light people, National Grid were terrific. They got there and everything went in the ground, and it was like in 2 days.
We're in great shape.
They had it, so I mean, as Jonathan said, if we had to wait, we'd probably still be looking at asphalt, having to get some asphalt down.
When you expect the building to be completed?
July of next
July,
year.
July
of next year.
28th or 29th.
Yeah, July of
Somewhere
next year.
around there. And that date moves from day to day. Shawmut is actually tracking it on a daily basis. One day it could be 6 days ahead, tomorrow it could
I
be
get
4
the
days
reports,
behind.
I don't understand. I mean, the
But,
spreadsheets are
No,
ridiculous.
they know where it is, but the last I heard, we were a few days ahead,
Yeah.
actually.
The real question is, once that occurs, then we have to demolish the existing building, level that off, build a new field, put in all the lighting and the utilities and everything over there as well.
Well, one of the things that's important to recognize is that whatever is salvaged from Woodland will be salvaged, but it's actually a very tight window. Once the students are gone in the spring, the remediation will begin of any issues in the building, and it's getting ready for demo. The moving company will move whatever is moving to the new building, and everything else will be gone.
I don't know what that means. They're gonna go through, we're gonna get credits for copper, we're gonna get credit for.
It's all in the,
piping.
it's all in the demo price.
all in
It's
the
all
demo
calculated
price.
into the price. So there's a lump sum price to demo the existing building. There's a lump sum price to move the furniture in. That includes the disposal of the other furniture. And the furniture in that building, some of that furniture is 40 years old. And recognizing that that's a 3-4 school and we're building a 3-4-5 school, it was complicated with respect to the furniture. You couldn't just take that furniture, put it in the new school, and then say, we'll take the stuff from East and move it to Stacy, and take the stuff from Stacy and move it to Woodland.
You gotta do it
And-
anyway.
Huh?
Take the stuff from East and move it to Stacy, and you gotta get the stuff in Stacy
No,
and get it out of
No,
there.
we're not moving the
Stacy
furniture
is-
from Stacy, we're
Stacy's
moving
a
the teachers from
Stacy's a
Stacy.
3-grade school now,
I know,
but Woodland's a 2-grade school,
I know.
so.
We're moving teachers, not furniture from Stacy.
But you have furniture in East, that's 8th grade furniture, or for people that size.
But you have that at Stacy also.
I don't know if you have the same size.
I'm sure some will move, that's
You're gonna
certainly the
have to move,
school.
because you're gonna have 8th graders now at Stacy that you don't have them now.
Right, and you're gonna have no 5th graders there, and I don't know what the furniture size is between 5th grade and 6th grade.
I thought it was the same.
I don't know. I'm not an educator, but I know, given the choice, that there's a different size. Because that will mean spending more money, and that's what everybody
Sure.
wants to do.
Some,
No, that's not the case. You know, I resent that particular remark, because, no, let me finish. You just had your say, let me have mine.
Oh, come on.
No, you
know I
say
was
that's what
pulling
we
your
want to
chain.
do. We're vetting every single thing that comes down the road. Everything gets vetted. We're not spending what we don't need to spend.
So how much furniture are you using? How much furniture are we saving from?
Very little.
Because,
It's not worth saving in many instances. We're building a $61 million facility. We're not gonna put 30-year-old furniture in a $61 million.
doesn't mean you need to spend $61 million either.
You know, you need to come to a couple of our meetings when we come up on a Wednesday morning, sit through the meeting when we sit with the contractors, and they put something on the table. Do you think much gets past this guy to my
I
left?
worked with this guy, I know
You think
exactly.
much gets past him?
I know exactly what this guy.
Nothing gets past him.
He and I have worked together on other school projects.
But
I
nothing
totally
gets
understand.
past him.
But my point is
You
that,
can rest assured that we're trying to get
My-
$1.10 for every dollar we
my
spend.
point is, if we're not gonna use the existing furniture,
We aren't.
fine. Then it's up to the school, the finance committee, school subcommittee, to go back to the school committee and say, look at all that maintenance money that's in your budget for all of that furniture that needs to be repaired on an annual basis will be coming out. Because, I mean, we're not gonna pay for it twice. I don't think we ought to do that.
Well, then you can do whatever you think is appropriate with that subcommittee, and.
We certainly will.
That's fine.
But my
know
point is-
full well that
my-
we're gonna
but you know
outfit
what
the
my point is.
school as was
You
designed.
know what my point is. My point
I
is.
do know what your point is, yes.
If the mindset is to just get all new, then we should have appropriated less money and it would have given the mindset to utilize what exists. Okay? We didn't do that. We said, go build a school. And
That's
we
exactly
assumed-
what we're doing.
We assumed, for argument's sake, and I know what happens when you assume, that the people on that committee, being the two of you, et cetera, would look at all the possibilities of utilizing what exists. And I'm sure you do. And I'm
we
just
did.
pulling your chain, and I think
And
it's
we did.
important to do that.
And we did.
Because it needs to be known that this committee is fiscally responsible.
Well, you may rest assured that the building committee is similarly fiscally responsible.
Maybe more.
Maybe more so. Jonathan throws nickels around like the manhole covers.
I guess we'll see at the end of the day when the final number comes in, what it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that we've been concerned about from the beginning, because you never know what's gonna happen when you're still trying to get out of the ground. And we've got one other section that once the building leaves, we have to work in that area, but we're not gonna be building a structure, we're gonna be building a field. So that's gonna be a heck of a lot easier for us in the long run.
I think you're doing a great job. I mean, when we went to the original opening, it was incredible what I saw. I mean, that I thought it was gonna be just a flat piece of ground, and there'd be a ribbon there, and everybody go, yeah, we're gonna put a school over there. Well, there was a huge hole in the ground, and things were done way beyond what I thought.
I have to acknowledge that the town of Milford actually has an incredibly good team working on this project, whether it's HMFH, the architect, Jocelyn Lesser and Associates, the project manager, and Shawmut, the actual contractor. It's just been amazing. There was structural steel going up in the C building before the footings were poured in the A building. It's just this balancing act, and they're just moving through it incredibly well.
As I said, I get the monthly report, or every other week report, and I read through that report. It is more comprehensive than any project that I've ever worked on in my time in industry, and I've worked on some big ones.
Right.
And so, I mean, I gotta commend you guys. It's really been an exciting project to read about and look and do, and, yeah, we'd love to come.
One of the keys with the building committee is that we vet the project, we decide what we're going to do, we vote on it, it gets approved, then we move on to something else. We don't spend an inordinate amount of time of redoing something. The purpose is move the project along, and as Jonathan mentioned, all those folks are all veterans of, this isn't their first roundup, but Shawmut is amazing. I mean, Jonathan mentioned the fact that they had to do some work on Saturday. So I happened to, the job superintendent was there, because I had driven around, so the job superintendent was, I said, what are you doing on a Saturday? Well, as Jonathan mentioned, they needed to get some insulation up because the masons were catching up. So he just wants to keep the project rolling. It's like being a gerbil in the wheel.
And to give just another glimpse of the oversight here, the construction group, if you will, the architect, project manager, contractor, has weekly meetings. And at that weekly meeting, every week they will go through where are they at, what are the issues, what's coming, what's the 3-week look ahead, and that sort of thing. I don't think Aldo and I have missed one yet, and they'll tell you it's unusual. The owner is never at these meetings. You know, it's a nuts and bolts construction meeting, and we're on top of this.
Oh, you guys are nuts and bolts guys. I mean, that's part of the
That's true, and neither one of us has a real life, so,
Right.
you know.
Where
But
are
we're
we
there.
on the contingency budget?
We have utilized $400,000 at this point, give
Out
or
of?
take, out of 2
400?
point, yeah. Well, the
200.
No, 4. It's right here. Well, we haven't spent the other 2.
Right.
We've paid out,
We've paid 2. We've paid 2.
$194,000.
There's actually,
$194,000.
and there's 2 contingencies.
But
There's
the
a-
other one, but it's there. We
The-
just haven't paid out yet, because we're not satisfied with the information we received, so we're sitting on some of that information. And in fact, today Jonathan asked, have we heard, have we gotten the information? Their answer was no, so we're not pushing it,
So it's about-
because,
It's 400,000 theoretically out of
This-
2.4 million?
Well, there's
Yeah,
actually more.
2.3.
Now it's 2.3 plus
Yeah,
the
all
guy,
their
guaranteed, there's 2
contingent.
contingencies. There's a guaranteed maximum price contingency, which is effectively the contractor's contingency for stuff that was
Which
missed.
is our money.
It's our money. Either way, it comes back to us. But there's 700,000 there, and there's 2.3 million in our contingency, for a total of about 3 million. As of now, we've expended 200,000, and there's another 100, 150-ish, 200 that we're still negotiating.
Pretty incredible, actually.
And that's what, and we're out of the ground.
That's
And we're
what-
out of the ground.
That's what the comfort level is.
Right.
We're out of the ground now. We pretty much know what's gonna happen inside.
You're not
the
gonna
building.
run into surprises on a brand-new building.
No, but there were a few things that we wanted as far as, I'll give you an example. Boilers.
Yeah.
We
perfect
wanted to
example.
get a more efficient boiler than the ones that were spec'd.
One at Woodland they can use.
No, we wanted to get.
Actually, the one at Woodland was spec to have it's the same as Brookside, the controls will be saved.
Yeah,
The boiler won't be, but the
saving.
controls, it's the same as the
they're
Brookside
reusing,
boilers.
they're repurposing that
But
stuff.
what happened was the boiler that was spec'd was not necessarily proprietary, but only sold by one vendor, and you were stuck with that vendor for service and parts. So we spent $17,000 to go to a more generic, if you will, boiler that anybody can service
Which
and get parts
matches
for.
the rest of
It
them that we
matches the
have.
rest of the
So now we
district.
can do our service contract.
And it was more efficient.
Plus, it's
and-
10%
and
more efficient. We'll
So-
amortize that by Christmas.
Right.
So it won't be any problem at all.
And that was Rob Quinn, by the way, who picked up on that. He saw it right away and said, let's stop it, and we stopped it.
Rob's really good at that.
Rob is
stuff, yeah,
amazing.
Really is.
Yeah.
So he's part of we three are the ones
He
that
shows
are
up
there.
every Wednesday also.
That's because he has nothing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, It is what it is. But, our committee is a good committee. I mean.
It's amazing committee.
They're very
just amazing.
cooperative, they listen, they vote, and then they go home. You, let me know if you guys want to do it, we'll set something up on a Saturday, and.
Saturday morning
We
or,
gotta do that
I do too,
Yeah.
towards the end of the year.
Sure.
I mean, I think we gotta, well, any questions for these two gentlemen? Chris?
Quick question, guys, because of the amazing pace that this is going on, and Jonathan, you touched on it quickly. So we're gonna open this door on July 27th. How long do we have to basically raid the old Woodland?
the one day, 24 hours.
I mean,
We've asked that question. One day. One day.
so we have to align everything. People pick up portables, pick up generators, do all this
Well,
stuff.
if the generator, yes,
You know what I'm saying?
some of those things are more flexible, and what I mean by that is we have to vacate the building. The furnishings will go out right away, any remediation will be done, it'll be decommissioned, the power will be cut to it, the gas will be cut to it, all those things will go on, and it will be demolished. But literally, we've asked the question over and over again, how much time do we have? And they say 24 hours. The students are gonna be out, the building is being decommissioned. And it has to be in order to keep it on schedule, to get the building raised and to get the field built and the rest of the parking lots done. The parking lots and the driveway, it's a very, very tight schedule.
That's an
Is there a foundation on that
field.
building?
Yes.
That's
We
right.
have to dig
It
that
has
up.
to, the foundation will be demoed, it'll be,
Yeah.
but the good news is that the finished grades are not below the foundation grades, so we're not dealing with unsuitables there.
No,
There might be some areas around it where there isn't the building that we could run into boulders, but I'm not sure that anybody ever ran into ledge there other than just big rocks.
All you can do is fill it anyway.
Well, the grades are a little funky there as far as in relation to what's there today. There's, I believe on the western side, the slope gets pushed back, and there is a pre and a post-construction grade,
So
of course.
Anybody else? My next major question is that I personally, and this committee, and members of this committee at the time spent an awful lot of time and an awful lot of effort on those two playgrounds at Woodland, and so did the town. What are you guys doing with those?
No one wanted them.
What do you mean, no one wanted them? Just move them over to the new school?
No
They-
one
When
wanted them.
we actually looked at the cost to move them, it exceeded the cost.
And
Right,
rehab, they
right,
have to meet code.
To take them down, repurpose them, reinstall them was more expensive.
Remember, one was wood, the other was plastic.
No, there was no wood there. Both of those were metal.
There was,
No, wood.
They were metal.
They're already,
Well, they're gone.
They're gone.
No
And
one
they,
wanted
and they
them.
had to
so
be
much.
gone, they had to be gone before the school year because of where they were.
I don't
Because,
believe it.
yeah, absolutely.
I don't even.
Parks
know.
Department had given an indication that they might like to have it and repurpose it. I understand they came up and looked at it, and it just wasn't gonna meet their needs. Really. And we have to get some of this stuff off the property, because that is not as big a site as you would imagine. There's no place to store this stuff up there.
That playground on the, facing the school on the left-hand side.
Yeah, by the
By the
cafeteria.
cafeteria.
The multi-story
Right.
playground was 37,000 and change.
But Mark, what happens is
And
if
the
you,
gentleman on this committee at the time, Joe Vitalini, I don't know if you guys remember
I
Joe.
remember Joe.
Remember Joe?
I do.
He donated all that concrete to build that, to put that thing up, and.
So what year was this one? What year was it?
What's the difference what year it was? It was a 50-year playground.
Okay, well,
It's
that's
30
don't
years
worry
out.
about it.
We got about 20.
One of the things that we have
I'm
to be
just,
aware of.
you know,
No, it's,
No, we
it's,
tried to save as much as we could, but it's much easier said
if you
than
asked me,
done.
I would've taken it home.
well, the problems you run into, and none of us, again, Aldo was right. I treat nickels like manhole covers. The problems you run into is when you get bogged down in trying to save something like a 25-year-old playground, it delays the entire project. And the project just has to keep going. Nobody wants to see us be, first, everybody is concerned with the prices, but nobody's gonna forget if we open late.
I'm good. Anybody else?
I assume a 25-year-old playground wouldn't meet today's ADA requirements.
Exactly right.
Correct.
That kills it
But,
right there.
You're absolutely right.
And it wasn't 25 years, but I bet it would.
Well, it's still one, no, well, I'm not gonna, it's not there now, so I'm not gonna worry about it.
This hurt me to the quick, man. I mean, you
Well,
guys are never coming back here
Some
for
days,
more money. I'm
some
sorry.
days it's worth getting out of bed.
Let me tell you, I will not advocate for any more money for that school or anything going towards it.
I don't think we've asked for any more money, have we?
Those two playgrounds were easily over 65,000,
Does the
not
new
including
school have a
all the
playground?
efforts,
It does.
all the volunteers that put in that built those two playgrounds.
Well, we're getting another one, Mark, we're good.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are,
What are we getting?
getting new playgrounds.
Come back with more money.
It's all in the plans. No, it's all in the budget.
Love to see them.
All in the budget, all reimbursable.
Love to see them.
Same manufacturer as what's over at Town Park. Compan, I believe is the name, Kompan. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Anyway, anybody else?
And no solar panels on the roof?
No, we actually looked into that, and the problem with the solar panel item, if you will, is they're not cost-effective without the tax credits, and there's no tax credits to the town. However, we did insist, and this building is solar panel ready. The conduits are in place, the roof perforations are there, everything is in place, so if it were to change and it became economical, they could be put up without cutting into the roof or that sort of thing.
Everything goes to the proper location
Yeah.
in the building.
Yeah.
So Neil, you drop them, pull the wire, cable them.
Conduits
and
are
you
there.
In fact, there's a lot of anticipated potential additions at some point, so if we thought it made sense, we put conduit underground so that people can handle that.
Generator,
There is a generator, yes.
Yeah.
full backup?
No,
or-
no, we asked specifically, it's emergency, to keep the building heated
It's a
from
70
freezing.
kW generator.
It's enough to provide emergency lighting and to heat the building through the winter.
Run the elevators.
But
and
we
things like that.
specifically asked the
The
fire
elevators
chief,
go up.
we asked the fire chief at the time whether he would want that as a shelter, and the answer was no, there was no advantage
See,
to
there are
it.
no locker rooms or anything up there, no showers.
Right, it doesn't, already- it does, exactly.
I mean, we have one.
We have one, but-
It was worth having another one or not.
Well, if we had locker rooms and shower facilities, it may have been a different situation, but not having that, it didn't make sense to make it a shelter.
Did we miss anything?
Yep. Nope, you didn't miss anything.
Okay, cool.
Appreciate it, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Joe.
Are we gonna do new business? Do I have to move now? Can I stay
Sit
here?
right where you are.
We chased them all out of here.
Yeah.
Sit right where you are.
All right, I'll see you later.
Good night.
Oh,
All right, anybody have any new business?
Let's get an accurate.
Any old business?
It's like 60 large.
We need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All right, so we will call some meetings.